Recording. Okay. Hey, everybody. It's Amy Fox with Work in Progress Texas. I'm live here in the Facebook group, and I'm recording this because I wanted to create a plan with everybody when it comes to the holidays and how to survive the holidays. So we are going to get started here and kind of create a game plan, because the biggest thing is that the holidays, obviously, we expect them. We know them. We look forward to them. We know that it's the way to end the year. Obviously, life gets chaotic. It's busy. It's invitations, there's parties, there's gatherings, there's food. It's just traditional stuff that we are used to. And so it should be no surprise that gluttony can happen, lots of drinking can happen, all kinds of stuff can happen, and that can result in weight gain. And so our goal, especially with our clients right now, is to ensure that nobody gains any weight over the next 2 months, unless that's their goal right now. Because believe it or not, this is an optimal time to actually build tissue and build muscle, which I'll talk about in a second. But ultimately, my goal is because most of the people that we work with are obviously trying to lose weight. So our goal is going to be to not gain any weight. And so one of the things that we have implemented within the group is a step challenge, which is just encouraging and reinforcing to continue getting movement throughout this whole holiday season. So our step challenge with our clients started in September. So we've got basically a 4-month tally of step counts, and everyone set a goal that they wanted to hit by the end of the year. And it's cool because it keeps track of everything and shows a leaderboard for people, so you can kind of see where you're at. So one of the things in the holiday season is to try and set some kind of movement goal for yourself. And the easiest one is always going to be getting in steps. That's a great way to measure, like, how much movement are you getting in. And so a lot of people set like a 10,000 a day step goal, 8,000, depending on where they were at, set their own individual goal a little bit higher than what their average was, and kind of made that their minimums. So that would be an encouragement to you. Is I know the weather tends to change in different parts of the country. Obviously, here in Texas, it gets beautiful and cool and comfortable in the evenings and the mornings, and then there's just some warmth during the day. And that's not the situation with everybody necessarily, but hey, we did earn it with our really, really hot summer that started in May. So, but really being able to stay as active as possible throughout this time frame is going to help kind of offset maybe some additional calories and additional beverages or some fun or whatever you end up choosing to do. Because one thing I want you to be okay with is that it's your choice how you want to enter the holidays. Do you want to just throw away the next 2 months, or do you want to actually continue getting closer to your goals, whatever those may be as far as fat loss goes? You can still be in a fat loss phase during the holiday seasons and enjoy yourself, but it's also a really optimal time to build muscle, to work out heavier, to start really with our programming, what we do with clients, for example. We don't necessarily change a ton of things. That's the whole thing, is you don't necessarily change a ton of things. What you do is you slowly progress inch by inch, weight by weight. So each week, maybe you're increasing your weight just a little bit, or maybe every couple of weeks you're increasing your weight. This is the time to build tissue. So it's actually a really optimal time to be eating at maintenance, or maybe even just in a mini surplus, which gives you a bunch of wiggle room when it comes to nutrition and food. So we're not even going to necessarily talk about alcohol just yet, but if we're just talking about, cookies and pies and desserts and stuffing and all of the goodness that comes with Thanksgiving that people enjoy, all the goodness that comes with Christmas and the sweets and treats, you can actually have those meals and have them play in your favor when it comes to building tissue. Because that's the thing, is when we are building tissue and growing the muscle, you have to feed it. So that's why we love being able to work with people throughout the whole year, because ideally we would use this time frame as a building and literally follow the seasons, like the weather seasons we follow with fitness and training. Now, it just depends on where everybody's at. Some people are going to be still in a calorie deficit around the holiday season. So what do we do in that situation? Well, in that situation, first off, you give yourself a little bit of grace. You go to the holiday parties, you go to those events, and you remind yourself, first off, that the holidays are only a couple of days. They are not a couple of months long. So I know probably some of the stuff that I'm talking about is going to be reinforcing the message that maybe you've heard before, but ultimately we have to remind ourselves, like, it's Thanksgiving, if you can count Halloween if you want to, but Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. That's like 3 days. You could even add New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, the night before Thanksgiving, like Thanksgiving Eve or whatever, and it's 6 days. So it's like 6 days out of like 60 plus days, right? So we have to be realistic here and think like, okay, it's not like the whole holiday season is throughout the whole stinking week where you're just eating gluttony. Now, Moani made a good point that she's like, what do we do about leftovers, you know? So when it comes to actually eating the foods that you enjoy, obviously a lot of carb sources are going to be where we gravitate to. So we just want to make sure that we're including a protein source with those carb sources. I never like to tell anybody to remove anything unless we need to eliminate something for another purpose. I don't like to eliminate food unless we have to. And in some people's situations, when they're dealing with skin irritations or gut issues or digestive issues, or headaches or other things, sometimes we have to talk about eliminating foods to help with those challenges or whatever that could be. But in this situation, it's like, I don't want to tell you there's holiday foods that you can't enjoy. It's more so like how to build your plate. Ideally, you wouldn't be standing around the kitchen grazing. You would actually create a plate for yourself and eat that plate. And then you would see, am I still hungry? You kind of slow down and check in with yourself. You can start to use kind of some intuitive eating strategies where you can basically say, okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to enjoy this plate. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to chew my food. I'm going to, you know, be present with what I'm doing, enjoy my company and socializing and having fun. And then when I'm done with my plate, because that's the best way, is just to build your plate. I don't care how big it is, just build it, you know, put everything on it that you want, put 2 rolls, put some green bean casserole, put, you know, all the stuffing, whatever, have the protein source, eat the protein source first, then eat the rest of it, and then just kind of assess yourself. Hey, am I ready for dessert? Am I ready for seconds? Am I feeling kind of full? So that's where you can kind of use I know there might be healthier recipes out there, and Wani, we can definitely start looking to healthy recipes, because that's one of the things that she had asked was like, are there healthier alternatives? But to me, it's kind of like, well, it's the holiday season. Like, I don't really want a healthy alternative. Like, I want to have exactly what I want, right? Now, can you do some substitutes? Can you do a cauliflower mash instead of mashed potatoes? Sure, there's lots of people that have found really great recipes that have like heavy cream and cheese and all that stuff in it that makes the cauliflower taste good. But I also come from that perspective of being like, do you really want a healthier option, or do you want to actually just enjoy what you enjoy and just, you know, also be okay with throwing away some leftovers? I mean, you could either have the leftovers or pass out a bunch of leftovers or give some to your neighbors if they're okay with that. Or you can just kind of do the same concept of building your plate. Don't sit there and graze at a table. Like, that's probably one of my biggest challenges, is when you've got a spread, right? And you're just kind of like picking as you go, you're in conversation. And I know for me too, when I would be drinking at that time, which we're obviously going to address that, but when I'd be drinking, I would also, my hunger signals are totally jacked when I'm drinking, because I'm wanting to eat more. So that's another thing too, is if we're trying to regulate your appetite, we want to make sure that we're just consuming that food around that time frame, just to kind of be in tune with your body. And then you would balance it out with, like, maybe you wake up that morning and you take a walk, or you walk after you have your meal. I know every single situation can be unpredictable. Social situations are not always easy to be like, hey, everybody, I'm going to go for a walk. So I'm going to, you know, maybe they will join you. I don't know. But, you know, obviously we want to take into consideration that the family is around the table, friends. Hopefully that's your situation, is that you're enjoying yourself. And if not, and you're lonely, you let us know and we'll squeeze you in here. But I think the biggest thing is just knowing, like, hey, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the food that you like, build your plate, don't graze, be in tune, be present, just be aware of your hunger signals. Are you stuffed and you keep eating? Like, remind yourself that it's okay to put it away for later. It's okay to have more later. It's kind of like, just be in tune with your body and enjoy the stuff that you want to enjoy. When it comes to like alcohol, I will, I don't know, there's not really like, I think I found maybe one website that has a place where you can order non-alcoholic stuff all in the one spot. But there are a lot of brands out there, for example, like Hyo. These are like adaptogen drinks. There is like literally a chill effect. I'm kid you not, there is a chill effect. Yes, they're going to be about $3.50 a can. So it's one of those things where like, okay, if I was going to a restaurant, ordering a cocktail, like obviously cocktails are more expensive than $3.50 unless it's like a Miller Lite or whatever. But like, so just kind of take a perspective, like obviously you're getting organic adaptogens that actually have some health benefits to them, which is like a stress reliever, calming for the body. And that's why they're going to cost a little bit more. So it's one of those things where like, if you're drinking like a 12 pack or whatever, it's like, well, you know, maybe we have one or two cocktails. But I've also looked at some other brands, like there's Hop Water out there. Hop Water, it's spelled HOPWTR, and it's another adaptogen drink, and it's a water, and it's has those adaptogens, that calming feel to it. We found it's called Hop Elixir, which also has some nootropics and adaptogens in it. Katy Perry has a new line. It's called like Desoi or Deso or whatever. It's DESOI. I've never heard it be said, so I'm probably butchering it. But those are like sparkling wines and bubbles and adaptogen drinks as well. And they're going to be a little bit more on the expensive side. So that's where it's like, hey, if you're going to get those, like save them for yourself. Don't share them, because I wouldn't share mine. Be like, sorry, get your own drink, because these cost more. But there's so many, as I'm Googling or I'm going on Instagram and I'm looking for non-alcoholic options, there really is a bunch out there. In fact, my friend sent me another brand. I wonder if I can find it fast enough here, because I just want you guys to know choices. It's called like Leitz, Leitz, and maybe I'll just post something. Maybe I'll do like a PDF that just shows like non-alcoholic beverages that I want to try. And she said this is one of the best sparkling rosés that she's ever had. So I wonder if Leitz, Leitz, has more options than just a rosé. And then if you're a beer person, Athletic Brewing has crushed it when it comes to beer, like alcoholic free beer. And David is an avid, like he loves IPAs. Every single one that we've tried, I didn't really like the light version. It was still a little kind of weedy, but they are like crushing it. And they've got all different kinds of brews out there that are to cater to everybody. So if you're somebody who's like, I just like the taste of beer, I want a good brew, like Athletic Brewing, highly recommended. I'm not necessarily somebody who would look at the spirits, like whiskey, vodka, tequila substitutes. To me, that's not necessarily where I would gravitate to, but there's also other options out there. And then they come with like some recipes. And then I think what's nice about going alcohol free is being like, hey, like, let's make mocktails normal for the holiday season, right? Like, let's make sure that if we have a party, we have a cocktail for, option that's alcohol free for people. That's not just soda, water, tea, or coffee. You know what I mean? Like, those are the drinks that we have on a regular basis. To me, my mission would be like, I'm always going to have now a mocktail or an alcohol-free something fun, ideally low sugar, because I don't want to, but also like, who cares if you're having a little bit of sugar in your drink, you're not drinking alcohol, that's totally fine. So there's options. You just have to decide for yourself when it comes to alcohol. Am I going to enjoy some things around the holidays and just have it those days? Am I going to drink all week long? Am I going to not drink at all? You have to decide for yourself what matters more for your goals, for your health, for how you feel. If you've been abstaining from alcohol, like Karen and I have been for a while, we've got to make sure that we don't overdo it the first time we go and drink something, because your body's going to react differently. It's going to either backfire, or you're going to get loosey-goosey really quickly, or you're just going to feel like crap, or you're going to enjoy yourself. Like, you just don't know how your body's going to respond. So obviously in all of this, when it comes to nutrition or whatever you're eating, when it comes to drinking, just make sure we're also staying hydrated. We want to make sure that our sleep is still being a priority. We want to make sure that we're still getting our protein goals in for the day. Obviously we recommend 1 gram of protein per lean body weight goal. So whatever your body weight goal is, like if you've got a certain number in mind or whatever, kind of stay within that range. Like if you're a 150-pound chick and you're like, I'm happy at 150, cool, eat between 120 and 150 grams of protein a day. It's going to satiate you. It's going to help you, like, basically when it's satiating you, it's going to reduce the need to go snack and graze and other things, because you're going to be full. And then you're also going to be sustaining that muscle tissue throughout the holiday season, because On the flip side, some people in the holiday season might work out less. They might do less movement. Things come up, like you might not feel good. You could get sick. You could have stressors going on. Like there's, last holiday season was a big stressor for me. And I turned to alcohol often. Like I'm somebody who loves boozy coffee, like I like the Mexican ones. I like the Irish ones. I like all different kinds. So, oh, Karen, 51 days. That's awesome. I'm going to come back to these comments after I stop the recordings here, but that is, ultimately you just have to decide what you want for the holiday season when it comes to alcohol, because there is nothing wrong with saying like, I'm going to abstain from my life like normally, but on the holidays or, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I'm going to enjoy some beverages. And the biggest thing too is if you're in a calorie deficit, that's where you just have to kind of figure in, okay, that's where the calories add up. So even for our clients, it'll be like, hey, take a day or two break of tracking, like just take a break. Like if it's going to stress you out, if it's going to make it not fun, don't worry about it. It's just a couple of days. That's where we have to kind of remind ourselves is we just can't fall into it, because what I see happen a lot is if you get loosey-goosey, and I did last Christmas, the holiday season, it bleeds into the new year and then you're playing catch up again. And the whole goal is to not have you go so far off the rails that you're playing catch up in January. The goal is to be like, okay, create a plan, decide what you want to do, decide where you want to go. What does that look like for you? And if you veer off the plan a little bit, no big deal. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's okay. But the biggest thing is like, what do you want the holiday season to look like? Do you want mocktails options, or do you want to enjoy some beverages? Is that just easier, more fun, whatever? Build your plate instead of standing around grazing at stuff. Like just build the plate, put all the stuff on it. Like, I don't care if it's piled this high, like just at least put it on a plate, and that will reduce the grazing. And decide if you want to take a break from tracking, or decide if you want to go back to maintenance calories for a little bit. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, this holiday season, I don't really want to lose weight right now. I just want to enjoy the holiday season. Or maybe the holiday season is a stressor for you, because we can also recognize that like it's not necessarily fun and games for everybody all the time. It can be a sensitive time depending on losses that you've had in your life, things that happen. Like the holidays are not necessarily this joyous time for everybody. So if you feel like it's going to be a super big stressor, this might be where you say, you know what, for 2 months, I'm just gonna like eat at maintenance calories, or I'm just not gonna track right now. But in place of that, I'm going to be in tune with what I'm eating, listen to my body, eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm satisfied. I'm going to get my walking in as much as possible. I'm going to stay hydrated. I'm going to go to bed at a decent time unless I'm having some fun with some friends. And you just kind of set some boundaries for yourself, some metrics. It always comes back to sleep, eating enough protein, staying hydrated, and getting some movement in every single day. And if you do those 4 things throughout the holiday season, you're going to be in a much better position as January hits, because January should just be a continuation. And in a perfect kind of workout training regimen, we would still be building, and we wouldn't be cutting necessarily until like springtime, because that's when we're starting to get to the summer season, or the shorts and tank tops and whatever. So I hope that those tips are helpful. I mean, it's one of the, you can go a different, depending on what your goals, you've got a couple of different options. It's either a building phase, or you're continuing on with your weight loss phase, or you're just maintaining. Those are your 3 choices, like all of the time. So it's kind of a matter of what does that look like for you? The more activity, the more movement you get in, the more you balance out all the calories that you eat. There is a balance there. Remember, carbs are the fuel for movement. So if you're having a bunch of carbs, make sure you're going and moving and getting some of that energy and that glucose out of your system. We're just trying to balance out everything. So that would be really, I think it just comes down to like creating a plan, setting some boundaries for yourself and sticking to it. And then reflecting when the holiday season is over, how did you do? Was this a better holiday season than the previous holiday seasons? Are you proud of yourself? Are there things you could have changed or done better? Because again, if you choose to go off the rails, just own those choices. If you own those choices and be like, oh, well, I didn't do as well as I wanted, but okay, no big deal. I'm going to get back on the horse in January. That relieves some stress, because if you're stressed out and anxious and frustrated at yourself, you're actually going to do more harm to yourself. So I'd rather you be at peace with your choices and your decisions and what you want to do. instead of like stress yourself out and be miserable. So that is kind of my assessment. It's like decide what you want to do with alcohol. Always have a mocktail option just to kind of embrace that new culture for everybody. Decide if it's a maintenance, fat loss, or building phase for you, how you want to do that. If you need help with your calories or macros, let us know. I'm absolutely willing to help people's diets and nutrition for free with no strings attached if you guys are interested in that. Get your movement in, do your resistance training, decide where, what boundaries you're going to set for yourself, prioritize sleep and hydration, and then build your plate and kind of use that intuitive eating approach where you're just building awareness around your environment. There's nothing wrong with you sitting there for a second and just thinking about like, do I feel full right now? I'm okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Let's just make that normal. Let's make it normal. I hate the word normalize, but it's like, let's normalize it. I'll throw it out there. So I hope that this was of value and helpful. I'm going to stop the recording and check the comments here, but thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know if this was of value, and I appreciate your time.